First off, don't worry about this. I know I look like I smoked a bunch of meth and got into a hockey fight. There was a dental-related mishap. Don't worry about it. Today, we're going to be talking about Louie. Now, if you've watched any of my Pikmin content, you probably know I have a little bit of a, let's call it an obsession, for a lot of reasons. Today, I'm going to hope to unpack those reasons. So you're going to be playing the part of my therapist while I talk at length about a fictional Nintendo video game character. I'm finally a real YouTuber. So with that in mind, let me give you a little bit of background on Louie and Olimar and Pikmin in general. Just about all the Pikmin games follow these tiny little people, these tiny little aliens, either from Hakatate, in the case of Captain Olimar and Louie are subjects for today, or a number of any other planets from this ever-expanding universe of Pikmin. The focus of today's video is going to be Louie. Now, unfortunately, Louie is not the protagonist of any of the Pikmin games. Unless you count his secondary protagonist role in 2, but that's kind of gone throughout half the story, never mind about that. Louie is a very interesting character because anytime he's on screen for a cutscene or something similar, there's just a lot going on. So the important thing to know about Louie is he is incredibly misfortunate. Unfortunate? He is incredibly unfortunate. Just about any time we see him interacting with the local wildlife of PNF 404, the Pikmin universe's analog to Earth, he's usually being chased by something, eaten by something, electrocuted by something, or just kind of being thrown around like a rag doll. He is incredibly unfortunate. The other important thing to note about Louie is that he has an incredibly ravenous appetite, and a seeming disregard for any of the consequences of indulging in that. The man has no self-control with food. That's probably part of the reason why I identify with him so much. We'll get to that. Another fascinating aspect of Louie's character is that he might just be a sociopath. There are a lot of instances throughout the series where Louie does these things. He does these things motivated by food, by his hunger, by his desire for culinary greatness that has wild ramifications for every other member of the cast in whatever game he's a part of. But I want to start in Pikmin 2, where he got his beginning and his introduction. From his very introduction, it is established that Louie is kind of just incompetent when it comes to handling business. In the very opening cutscene of Pikmin 2, we get to see that he single-handedly bankrupted the entire company that Olimar and Louie work for, Hakatate Freight. And this isn't a recurring pattern. This was Louie's first ever mission for them. He was carrying an entire payload of golden Pikmin brand carrots, and then claims that they were all eaten by ravenous space bunnies. This is obviously a lie, so right from the beginning we see Louie's character beginning to take shape. We also see from the beginning how expressive he is compared to other characters, which I think kind of wraps into his whole psychological angle here. You see his eyes bulge out of his head whenever he sees something unfamiliar or surprising. You see him scamper around, and even sometimes he'll look at the camera in an almost completely self-aware way that makes you wonder if Louie is really just that unstable and incompetent, or if he knows something that no one else does. Does Louie know he's a part of a video game? Is Louie fully self-aware? This can be seen on full display when Louie meets the Pikmin for the first time. He looks at them with wide eyes, very unsure about whether this is a friend, a foe, or, in Louie's case, food. Which will be something revisited throughout the series, as there's many Picklopedia entries of Louie wondering what a Pikmin tastes like, but managing to exercise enough restraint that he doesn't, that we know of. But if I had to take a guess, Louie has definitely eaten at least one Pikmin. There's no way he hasn't. Okay, so we've established that he's very expressive, that he may be fully self-aware, and that he is driven wildly by food. Let's examine another aspect that I'm not sure we've ever gotten any answers on, and that's Louie's role in the very end of Pikmin 2, the final cave of the game, which I covered in my previous video where I briefly touched on all of the terrors of Pikmin 2. The final cave of the game, the Dream Den. It is the most dangerous, deepest cave of the entire game, and we find Louie at the very bottom nesting alone on a pile of what seems to be junk, though we know that's the Titan Dweevil. How did Louie get down there on his own with no help from Pikmin and no help from anyone else? Why did he go down there? There are many theories that I have on that, ranging from Louie just being unfortunate and falling into a hole, another being that the Titan Dweevil itself regarded Louie as treasure and decided to just kidnap him off the surface. Louie secretly does have a massive lust for treasure, or Louie just thought there was stuff that he could eat down there. Any of these could be true because in future games, it is shown that Louie does have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. He is somewhat motivated by the allure of treasure, of riches, of power, but more than that, he seems to be most focused on expanding his culinary horizons, which leads me to believe that he was driven down there, not by accident and not by outside forces, but by his own will. He wanted to go into those depths. Not to mention, in Pikmin 4's Picklopedia, we have evidence that Louie probably single-handedly killed and ate a lot of the creatures that call PNF 404 home. Creatures that, in other circumstances, will just completely destroy hordes of Pikmin and possibly Olimar. This implies that Louie has some kind of superhuman strength, possibly derived from his obsessiveness to food and his lack of care for other individuals. This is further reinforced in Pikmin 3. During a certain point of the game, Louie will just steal our entire supply of food and seemingly run straight through a stone wall nearby. This implies some kind of superhuman strength on his part when he is being driven in this single-minded trance, driven by his hunger to do anything it takes. And he seems to have absolutely no regard for the people he may have actually killed by doing that. This leads me to believe that Louie is indeed a bit sociopathic. Louie does not care. Louie doesn't think about the consequences of these actions. And in Pikmin 3, we see that psychology further expanded, because the only thing he really says most of the time is crying out the word food. This drives him to do all kinds of wild stuff. Things that should be impossible, such as surviving on his own in the very depths of caves like the Dream Den. So why am I unpacking all of this? Why am I talking about it? Because I'm curious what it means for me. Why am I so obsessed with this character? I don't really know where to go from there. I can't say I've ever accidentally caused somebody's death by stealing all of their food and running off on an alien planet through a straight stone wall, but I'm not taking it off the table for happening later in life. But Louie, to me, is a fascinating character because of that. Olimar has a character. He's diligent, somewhat reserved, but there's not much to work with there. There's not a lot of expression from him, even in the Pikmin shorts that you could get on the 3DS back in the day. The most memorable parts of me for Pikmin 2, part of the reason why I love the game so much, is watching Louie do things. He's a very fascinating character, because he has this air of incompetence, of just being completely unaware of his surroundings and what's going on. And yet, at the same time, he seems fully capable, fully self-aware, even to the point where he may know that he's in a video game. Maybe Louie's psychology actually is that he's not a sociopath, but he knows that he's in a game. He knows that these actions don't have any consequences because none of it's real. What if Louie is beyond self-aware? And I can't say any of these theories for people like Olimar, or the President, or even Elf and Brittany and Charlie. God forbid I say any of it about the cutouts of cardboard that are the Pikmin 4 crew, but that's a whole nother video. Louie's overflowing personality makes me want to dissect him. It makes me want to come up with theories. It makes me want to talk about him. And it makes me wonder what's wrong with me for having an obsession with him. The way he reacts to meeting the Pikmin for the first time is probably one of the most realistic things in any of the Pikmin games. He isn't just standing there completely enamored, he's terrified. This is a living plant creature that he just plucked out of the ground. I'd be scared too. He tries to run away from it. And then when he realizes that it's not going to hurt him, he just kind of slowly turns and looks at the camera. He knows. I have many theories that I could make on Louie, and I probably will at some point or another. You should never discount the things that I might do when I get bored. Okay, I feel I may have gotten a little off track over the course of this video, but that is okay. So to recap a bit, the reasons I find Louie fascinating, and especially the act of unpacking his psychology fascinating, is that 1, he may be self-aware, which is a unique trait, especially in the Pikmin games. 2, he may actually be far more competent than what he lets on. 3, he may actually be superhuman in some way, becoming empowered by this seemingly superhuman capacity for destruction whenever he is in pursuit of a new culinary endeavor. 4, he may actually be the greatest entrepreneur in the world. I don't know about that last one. So if you got off track with this video alongside me, I'm sorry. Part of the reason I'm making this video is as a channel announcement. See, things haven't really been working as of late for the channel. It's likely because I've been doing kind of a scattershot approach to things, not really having a real sense of consistency between my uploads and my videos and all of that. So I wanted to also take this opportunity to let you all know that things will be shifting a bit. I'm going to be starting a second channel that's going to focus mostly on my Let's Play style content, and more than likely a lot of my review style content, some of the longer form stuff and things like that. This main channel is likely going to become more like this kind of content. I'm going to be talking about video games, I'm going to be reviewing some video games, I'm going to be coming up with wild theories, I'm going to be just kind of talking at the camera. I'm going to be uploading a lot more frequently as well. I'm aiming to be uploading every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all of them likely later in the day to the evening. I may also end up doing more animation content and things like that on here as well, though there's also the possibility I'll start a third channel because I have far too many ideas to try and keep them consistent in one channel. That much is obvious to me. So to everybody who has subscribed so far, and especially all my Patreon supporters, you have my incredible thanks, and I hope that you're going to stick around to see where all of this goes for me, because I have all kinds of weird ideas that I want to get going on, and I want to be uploading more regularly and really treat this like the career that I want it to become. So, thank you for joining me for this strange little tirade, and I'll be talking to you more in the future. So until next time, I love you all.